Greetings to all the students. I welcome you all on the YouTube platform of NEXT IAS and you are watching Daily News Analysis, an initiative where we discuss important articles published in the newspapers and the PIB. Already we have covered what exactly to read from the newspapers and to what extent in our What to Read initiative. Do follow that. Now, with the help of today's videos, the topic that we are going to cover are India-Fiji relationship, civil society, regulation on the content of social media, World Food Program, and in decoded session, the topic that we are going to cover is decline in the dignity of the parliament, that is correlated with the productivity of the parliament. Now, start with the first topic visible over your screen. This is India-Fiji call for open Indo-Pacific region, agree to deepen defense ties. So ultimately in this article, theme is that they are growing bilateral relationship with respect to India and Fiji are being talking about. What is the context? The context lies that India's Act East policy, plus Indo-Pacific vision, where the government of India is trying to correlate and work where the Pacific Islands will be covered as a strategic partner. Amid the great power competition that is going on at this geopolitical junction in 2025. Now, based on this thing, the visit is very important. Why this article is even important with respect to the Indo-Pacific? Because on 28th and 29th of August, there has been a say that our Prime Minister is going to visit Japan and China, both the countries. So, this Indo-Pacific angle comes into the picture thoroughly. Now, before we talk about the the spotlights and the highlights of this topic, just discuss regarding a historical relationship between India and Fiji. So there was a Girmit system, where around 70,000 Indians, that was mostly from the UP and Bihar, visited the Fiji during the time of 1880 to 1920. To work in the sugarcane production. And we can say that at the junction, the backbone of the sugarcane production or the sugarcane economy of the Fiji has been because of this Girmit system, which has been because of the labor of the Bihar and UP people. That is the reason it has been said that around 38% of the total population of the Fiji are from the Indian correlation. Now, when we know that there are 38% people from the Indian origin, that means it works as a greater diaspora which will strengthen the relationship between India and Fiji altogether. Apart from that as well, there are cultural links as well between the two countries. The cultural links, what we can say, for say the Hindi recognized as a language, right, and the Hindi Divas is being celebrated. Moreover, Indian festivals like Ramayana, Holi are being celebrated as a national holiday in Fiji, which is definitely connecting deeper people to people connection, and it further enhances the correlation between the two countries. We may even go beyond this cultural and the diaspora relationship, where we may say that during the Cold War or say after the Cold War, or after I would say the independence, both the countries worked for the non-alignment aspect during the Cold War, that then further strengthen the relationship. The FIMIC initiative, the Indo-Pacific initiative, the climate diplomacy, many things are there which binds the two nations together, and it echoes into the South-South cooperation model of the India, where India emerges as a leader nowadays, right? So in this context exactly, we need to look into the relationship between India and Fiji. So now let's deep dive into it. So what are the key highlights of this visit? First, the maritime and defense cooperation, right, where the India to strengthen Fiji's army with training and giving equipment, naval cooperation, UN peacekeeping collaboration, etc. Regional security and the strategy, where the joint focus will be on regional peace, regional stability, and the free, open, inclusive Indo-Pacific region as well. This is especially linked with the amid Chinese growing threat, right? So amid the growing Chinese threat, they are more focusing towards the free and open Indo-Pacific, right? So third, health and humanitarian initiatives. India to support the Jan Aushadhi Kendras in Fiji to provide low-cost generic medicines. Generic medicines, those medicines which are as equal with respect to the quality and the the coverage and other things, the result as well with respect to the patent medicine. So the patent medicine, but are of very low price, right? One example for say in cancer, the Herceptin has been one of the very major medicine, but costs around more than 50,000. Contrary to that, the government of India has initiated one medicine cost 19,000 for the breast cancer. So this is a generic medicine aspect which will definitely boost the health sector aspect of the Fiji as well, right? Now again, under the Heal in India program, up to 10 physicians will receive specialized tertiary medical care systems in the Indian hospitals, less technology and the disaster preparedness, cooperation in cyber security, advanced technology, disaster relief, counter-terrorism. This thing has been there which bounds India and Fiji together. One more example to iterate, that India and Maldives relationship were in the doldrum, but all because of the disaster preparedness initiatives that were there with India, which China could not alter with. And there has been 3 and 4 instances where the people got died during the during the tsunamis and the other things, and the support was not reached to it. So the people momentum gone through, and they again asked for the India support. So India's support with respect to the disaster preparedness is one of the very holistic software diplomatic policy aspect of the India, right? Last, the culture and the diaspora ties, the topic that we just covered. Now little bit with respect to the geography. So this is the this is the Fiji. So Fiji lies in South Pacific Ocean, very important thing, right? And then afterwards Koro Sea is there, which is very important, right? Great Sea Reef is there, right? Barrier Reef, Mount Victoria is there, right? So these are those geographical regions which is very important with respect to your prelims examination. Location, the South Asia and other things we already have discussed. The highest point is yes, Mount Tomonivi on Viti-Levu. Okay, so this is Viti-Levu, and the Mount Levu will be very important as well, which is not visible over in here, right? Now, water bodies, South for say navigable rivers and natural harbors like Suva Harbor. So with respect to the contemporary the prelims based questions, these kind of informations are of very important for say this island Viti-Levu and Vanau-Levu. So this Vanau-Levu and this Viti-Levu, right? These two islands lies with the Fiji. Now the significance of India-Fiji relationship. Again, first is strategic and geopolitical significance. Again, it counters the Chinese growing influence in the entire Indo-Pacific region, right? Which strengthens India's presence in the South Pacific, enhancing the maritime and cyber cooperation with the different countries, right? Second, maritime security and cooperation. India-Fiji relationship includes naval visits, wide shipping information exchange, capacity building for the Fijian armed forces. It even enhances awareness, freedom of the navigation, security of the sea lines, communication in the Indo-Pacific or other things associated. Climate and humanitarian diplomacy. India has been the first responder to the Pacific Islands countries' climate adoption needs, and the FIMIC is one of those initiative. FIBIC is one of those initiative which has been astounding climate and humanitarian diplomacy aspect with respect to the India to the Caribbean or these Pacific Island countries, right? Diaspora, global South and multilateral relationship. Fiji supports India at the UNSC and strengthens India's South to South leadership in the Pacific Islands, right? That India's engagement complements Quad strategies, positioning India as a the security partner in this entire particular area. So India is that means that it can definitely give India an edge towards becoming a net security provider. Indo-Pacific policy alignment for say India's Indo-Pacific Ocean initiatives aligns with Fiji's priorities including maritime ecology, connectivity and capacity building, and Fiji's Ocean of Peace concept resonates with India's emphasis on rules-based and inclusive maritime border. Again, these two aspects, this aspect and ocean of peak with is important with respect to your prelims exam as well. Now this is the practice question visible over your screen. Do practices. Let us know the answer in the comment box. Now the second topic is this civil society. So this topic says that let civil society breath, two voice on the contemporary challenges. So now before we exactly talk about what is the relevance or what is the theme of this article, one quote that comes to my mind of the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, that without civil society there is no people's voice. And he even said that when there is no people's voice, the democracy withers. That means it shows a growing importance and the acceptance of the civil society in the parliamentary democracy system in a country like India. Amid this, now talks about two voices on the contemporary challenges. So what is the theme of this article? This article quotes about the two things. The first, it enlightens the major challenges that has grappled the working of civil societies in India. First thing. Second, it even gives you a direction that this kind of work should be given, or the freedom should be given to the this civil society. Now, let civil society breathe. This is a phrase, and this phrase quotes that amid the growing, I would say, this phrase quotes about that amid the growing, amid the growing imbalance, right? This let civil society breathe says that let the civil society work properly, freely for developing and strengthening the people's voice and bridging the gap between the government machinery and the people's voice. So this is this let civil society breathe means for. Now talk about the civil society aspect a bit. If we go about a little bit of historical aspect, so there was a enlightenment period. There was a enlightenment period, right? There was the point I'm trying to convey that during the enlightenment period in the Europe, this civil society word first came to the domain when philosopher thinkers like Locke, Rousseau quotes about emergence of the civil society to bridge the gap between the people's voice and the bureaucracy. It even echoes afterwards when I saw in India's concern, if I talk about. So in India's concern, we can have this thing in our freedom struggle, right? In freedom struggle, there has been so much of the things for, say, the Congress was there, the women's struggle was there, the peasant movements were there. They all worked as a civil society which echoes into the different acts of the Britishers. Even after the independence, right? Narmada Bachao Andolan or different movements, Chipko movement, different movements were there where the civil society have helped the people to raise their voice and let the bureaucracy and the government to think about their welfare and the other withered aspect as well. So in this light, we may quote one thing as well, which is very important with respect to the importance of the civil society, that I would say post World War II, civil society became a vital weapon for justice, accountability and participatory government. Participatory governance. Post World War II, three important things has been there: justice, accountability and participatory governance, which has been linked with the civil services working style. Now, what the civil services or civil society is? So, civil society comprises organizations that are not associated with the government, including the schools, universities, advocacy groups, professional associations, churches, the cultural institutions and other things associated. There are certain fundamental rights for say Article 19(1)(a), 19(1)(b), which is freedom to assemble peacefully without arms. Article 1(c), freedom to form association or unions for say allow the NGOs to work and to form voluntary organization, etc. Article 21, right to life and personal liberty. Article 25 to 28, the freedom of religion, which allows religion and charitable organizations to propagate the aspect of their religion. So all those fundamental rights are linked with the civil society in India. Now, the significance of civil society in India. The first is democratic significance. It gives a proper check and balances against the authoritarian tendencies. For say, it ensures representation of the marginal voices for say Dalit, Adivasis, LGBTQs or a different parts, right? Development role, NGOs contribute to the education. For say, there has been like Pratham is there, in healthcare, Seva is there, women empowerment, self-help groups are there. They are even working for say Nandini in Karnataka is there, Kudum in Kerala is there. So many different civil societies has been working. The Kudumshri in Kerala has been working for the betterment of the people in different healthcare and socio-economic scenarios. Now, globally, they mobilizes grassroots for the UN SDGs, essentially given 4.3 trillion financial gap. Why this thing is very important? Because the World Bank in 2022 report, it said that 40% of the SDGs, 40% of the SDGs target require a participation from the civil society. So, in this context, the role of civil society becomes very important in attaining the SDG goals, especially in India. Third, humanitarian and crisis response. For say during the COVID-19, there were Khalsa Aid, local Mohalla committees that stepped in with relief where state mechanisms were overwhelmed. Right? In Kerala floods, I remember there was a case when the civil society came forward for the different people's aspect. Accountability and transparency is another significance. Why? Because civil society works as a watchdog and they exposes the corruption and the human rights aspect. Right? We may code this thing, there are different kind of civil society. If we can code it for say ADR is there, right? They give you the exact information regarding the parliamentary culture that is going on, right? So, global justice and the climate action. Civil society drives climate justice debates. It amplifying demands of the global south at the COP meetings, right? Youth movement have been there for say Fridays for Future, Greta Thunberg. They show civic energy in holding the government accountable in the UN itself. Now, there are certain contemporary challenges with respect to the working of the civil societies. First is shrinking civic space. That means 90 countries are classified as closed or repressed civic society, which is Civicus Monitor 2023 report. In India, FCRA amendments tighten the foreign funding rules impacting NGOs like Amnesty International India with suspending operations citing the financial strangulation. And there was say that onwards 2014 till today, perhaps more than 500 NGOs in India or civil society has been grappling to work properly because of the financial strangulations. Second, democratic backsliding. According to the Freedom House 2024, 80% of the world's population now lives in countries where democratic rights are declining, right? Populist regimes often portray CSOs as foreign agents, undermining their credibility. So that means any single time some civil society is trying to do something good, internal security architecture, a foreign hand, something would be posed against it. This is this democratic backsliding. Third, exclusion from the global governance. Its Seville 2025, despite mobilizing around 4.3 trillion N1 financial gap, civil society found its role marginalized with negotiations dominated by states and the private sector lobbies. We can quote this thing with respect to the CSR initiative of the India, when now the private sector are spending 2% of their total turnover in different socio-economic healthcare aspects, right? Multi-layered crisis, pandemic, CSO filled gaps in healthcare, relief distribution, awareness aspect. We can witness this thing especially where in the Gaza issue that is going on nowadays, right? where the food has been given, distributed among the people, all because of the civil society people. Climate crisis, local CSOs mobilizes community in resilience building, because they connect, connection with the people, with in different styles, with the cultural linkages, with the languages, with the clothes, with the eating habits, something. So a trust being built up between the people and the civil societies, and moreover the people will be happy to voice their anger and their issues before the civil societies. Why? Because they know that they are not the government and they are not going to get punished, because if they raise their voice against the government machinery or something like this. Inequality, CSO pushes back against the elite capture of policy making. That means, you remember that there was a August revolution in 2014-2015, when Anna from the Maharashtra came into Delhi and talked regarding the Lokpal and the RTA aspect. So this kind of work as a push against the elite culture of the policy making. Now, this is this practice question over your screen. Do practices. Let us know the answer in the message box. Now, this is the third topic. This topic is that regulation of conduct on social media. So, this topic is important because the Supreme Court asked government to form guidelines to regulate conduct on social media. The court says that influencers commercializes free speech and their comments has hurt the Indian sentiments. You must have heard that couple of months back, there was one person, the YouTuber influencer from the Maharashtra. He said something against the relationship of the parents and the son and the daughter, and the matter reached out to the Supreme Court and he had to apologize openly. Still recently, there was Supreme Court has asked 4 influencers to tender apology in public. So the free speech has been perhaps got the attention, where the people has commercialized the free speech and they are not paying attention to the socio-economic cultural aspect of the Indian society. And perhaps the Supreme Court has asked the government to form the guidelines related to it. Now the point is that what are all those issues, the guidelines which have the regulation over the social media in India. Now, the first is Information Technology Act, IT Act, Section 69A. It empowers the government to block public access to online content for reasons like national security, sovereignty, preventing incitement to an offense. Section 79 provides safe harbor protection to intermediaries, exempting from liability for user posted content if they follow prescribed due diligence and procedures. Another is IT Intermediary Guidelines and Digital Media Ethics Code Rules 2021 IT Act 2000. Due diligence that publishes rules, privacy policy, user agreements on the website app. It updates user periodically on changes, restrict the prohibited content categories over it. Grievance redressal is there, in acknowledge the complaint within 24 hours and resolve them within 15 days. One of the major challenges is that the 15 days has been crossed many of the times. Significant social media intermediaries, platform above used as a threshold for the classified as significant social media intermediaries, must appoint chief compliance officer and the nodal contact for the law enforcement so that the people can contact to them thoroughly. Messaging services must identify the first originator of the information. User safety and dignity, remove disable content within 24 hours if it violates the privacy, shows certain sexual or nudity acts and impersonates something, etc. Right? So that the impact of the influencers, this derogatory aspect will not be reached to the common people. Oversight, Ministry of IB has set an oversight mechanism, self-regulatory courts and an interdepartmental grievances committee to look into all the issues that is emerging from these particular areas. Third, Digital Publisher Content Advisory Council. This is very important with respect to your prelims examination. How? This is a self-regulatory body for online curated content providers, established in June 2021 under the Internet and Mobile Association of India. Purpose is provides a grievance redressal mechanism balancing viewer complaints with the free speech of the influencer or the YouTubers as well. Legal compliance functions in accordance with the IT rules 2021 and other relevant statutes rules and the guidelines of the state governments and the governments. Objective is to avoid ad hoc intervention while ensuring accountability in online content publishing by the influencers. Now again, this is a practice question visible on your screen. This is again very important. Practice it. Let us know the answer in the message box. Now, World Food Program, the fourth topic of today's explained program. This topic is very important. Why? Because India partners with the World Food Program to fight global hunger. And we know that India's rank in global hunger is quite deteriorating, is even below 110. That means hunger is there in India. And on the other hand, India has a very high level of the food production as well. So there is an oxymoron aspect in India, right? So India has partners with this World Food Program to fight global hunger index. Fight global hunger. Now, the point is, in this article, we need to understand two things. First, they are talking about the fortification process and the government's different initiatives, right? First is fortification and second is government different initiatives. Second, they are talking about the World Food Program. So we'll understand what the fortification is, what are the significant challenges, and then afterwards the World Food Program. So if I go with the fortification, so fortification is a process, or I would say the practice, to deliberately increase the essential micronutrient like iron, vitamins, etc. to improve the nutrition quality of the food, and second objective is that it must not hamper the health of the person intact as well. So this is this fortification process, right? Now the point is, what are the benefits of the fortification? One thing you should always remember, that as per the scientific study, if the fortified food will be stored more than 45 days, it will be a challenge to counter. That is why food fortification in itself is a great challenge with a country like India. So in this context, we will now study about this particular news, that the World Food Program and India has signed a letter of intent to supply fortified rice. The fortified rice, and I must let you know that fortified rice supply in India started in 2018. Fortified wheat is in India 2017, 2019. Fortified edible oils has been there, right? 2017. So fortified rice for India for humanitarian distribution globally. Now the key highlights, that India's Department of Food and Public Distribution will supply fortified rice to the World Food Program. Globally, the rice will be distributed in crisis hit regions to address malnutrition and hunger. Humanitarian commitment will be there. India reiterated its philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, right? It even has accepted this thing during the vaccine metro initiative in the COVID time. Again, they are doing the same thing, right? And strengthening global partnership, because WFP officially appreciated India's steadfast commitment to food security and sustainable humanitarian support. Now, jump into this aspect, that what are the benefits of the food fortification, right? First, high benefit to cost ratio. Why? Because everyone spent yield 9 rupee in the economic benefit, that is low cost of the fortification. Second, ensures the minimum nutrition. For say the iron will be there, vitamin A, vitamin D, different things will be there associated. So at least minimum nutrition level will be there, right? Third, socio-culturally acceptable. Why? Because it requires no specific change in your food habits. The government is not pushing you to change your food habit. The people will be highly acceptable with the thing that has been given to, for say fortified rice, golden ice, fortified wheat, fortified edible oils, etc. No alteration of the food characteristics, the taste, aroma, texture will remain same. So again, not going to hurt your habits and your taste as well. Quick implementation. It can be rolled out very fast and shows health improvements in a very shorter time. It's a wide reach. Staple food fortification has shown nutrition reach large section of the the population simultaneously. Now there are certain issues with the fortification. The first issue that I quoted, very important, always remember that advisable not to store more than 45 days. So if India is going to export it, this is going to be the very major challenge as per the scientific study. Second, excess iron concerns. Sometimes if this excess iron will be given to the pregnant lady, there are more chances of the diabetes may link with the women. So health concern will be there. Loss of natural protective substances. Micronutrient addition can reduce polyunsaturated fats from the food itself. Third, market-driven approach. The push for the fortification may benefit industry more than the public health, and it could create the long-term dependency upon the mandatory markets. Fourth, impact on small industries. Expensive infrastructure favors large companies that threatens the small scale producers. So ultimately, we have witnessed that small farmers are not reaping the benefits. There are so much intermediaries, there are so many small companies linked. If the export system will be there, so the major chunk will be given to the bigger companies, not to the MSMEs or the SMEs involved with it. High government expenditure. Fortifying rice will have a social safety nets may cost 2600 crores annually to the government. Now the market concentration. Fortification program can increase market share for formal large players, reducing informal sector participation. So these things will remain there intact. Now there are certain initiatives led by the government of India regarding the food fortification. The three major are there. First one is food safety and standards fortification of the food regulation 2016. Now all three is very important with respect to your prelims examination. Mind this thing. Now the provision are that fortification of staples like wheat flour, rice, milk, edible oil and double fortified salt to reduce micronutrient malnutrition. Second, India's national nutrition strategy addresses anemia, vitamin A, iodine deficiency alongside supplementary and dietary diversification. Milk fortification project, the pilot project by the NDDB in collaboration with the World Bank and Tata Trust to fortify the milk and the milk products with the vitamin D. Why vitamin D? There has been certain news that in the Science magazine it was published that if you have the vitamin D sufficiency in your body, then there are lesser chances of the cancer, and this is the scientific study that has been published. That is the major reason that the vitamin D will be there remain intact, right? Now the World Food Program, the body which is exclusively important for the prelims examination. It is founded in 1961, headquarters in Rome, Italy, and India joined this in 1963. So the point to remember is that India is not a founding member. India is not a founding member. This is a very important thing, right? Mandate to combat global hunger and promote food security, of course, is very important. Very important. World Food Program was awarded Nobel Peace Prize in 2020 for efforts to combat hunger and improve peace in the conflict areas like Gaza nowadays, right? It even works with the government for PDS modernization, nutrition programs, supply chain optimization, especially with the India aspect. Now again, there is a practice question visible over your screen. Do practice it and let us know the answer in the message section as well. Now let's start today's recorded topic, which is visible over your screen, is decline in the dignity of the parliament. This topic already published in PIB, but in both the newspapers, the Hindu and in the Indian Express, it was published. Now the point is, what is this context? The context with respect to the declining productivity of the parliamentary functioning. We may start this concept that the idea, the context with this topic that we may start is that, for say, the idea of democracy rest upon the principle of people's participation. Right? And because in India there is a participatory democracy where the people chooses their MPs to represent their voices in the parliament, right? Now, this very basic idea of the parliamentary democracy in India rests upon the three very major principles. The first principle is accountability. Accountability. Second is responsibility. And the third is transparency. Now, because over the years we have been witnessing that there has been a decline in not only the parliamentary culture, the debate culture, ultimately the productivity, definitely goes against the very basic principle of the parliamentary democracy, that is accountability, responsibility and the transparency. Now, in this context of this thing, we need to understand what are those regions which is lacking towards the parliamentary democracy system in India, right? Now, first about the Parliament of India. It modeled after the Britishers' Westminster system. It's a supreme legislative body comprising the President, the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha as well. Article 79 of the ancient constitution establishes that the Parliament of India shall consist of President and two houses, a Council of State, Rajya Sabha and the House of People, Lok Sabha. Article 79, 1 to 2 of Part 5 of the Constitution deals with the Parliament's organization, composition, duration, procedures and the powers, etc. Now, the functions of the Parliament. First, legislative function for say make laws on union list, concurrent list, state lists, etc. Right? Can legislate on state lists in special cases for say national emergency, etc. Approves presidential ordinances within 6 weeks. Now, second is executive. It controls the executive through 0 hour, question hour, short duration discussion, adjournment motions, no confirmation motions, etc. The Council of Ministers is collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. Financial, no tax or expenditure without Parliament's approval. This is a very, very important aspect. First, passes the union budget, scrutinizes the government expenditure, which is lacking nowadays. And I will definitely clear those things with certain examples and the research that has been given by the PRS and the ADR. Right? Constituent, it amend the constitution if required with Article 368. Right? Judicial, impeaches the president, removes vice president, recommends removal of high court judges, SECs, CAGs, etc. Right? Electoral, it participates in the election of the president, elects vice president, speaker, deputy chairman of the Lok Sabha itself. Other debates issues of national important issues, approves national, state financial emergencies, alter state boundaries, can establish a high court or multiple things. So, generally we with the help of powers and responsibility understood that Parliament has every single thing or every single power to make any changes in this Indian system or Indian society as well. Now, in the light of this thing, now again with the aspect that nowadays we are lacking accountability, responsibility and the transparency, now we will jump towards that what are those reasons we say that the frequent disruptions in the declining dignity of the Parliament is taking place. So, the first if I talk about is the decline in productivity. Decline in productivity. How decline in productivity? There has been a data that in 2023 monsoon session, it only saw 18% productivity, only 18%. Counter to that, if I talk about the Lok Sabha scenario between 2019 to 24, right, the productivity ratio was only 47%. It might because of many issues, right, but this decline in productivity is because of the frequent disruption and the adjournments. How? Repeated protests, walkout by the opposition, stall the discussion, right? Example, 2/3 of the scheduled time was lost because of the adjournment only. Lok Sabha vote only for 29%, Rajya Sabha for 34% of the scheduled time, which is the lowest in the 18th Lok Sabha, right? Decline in the deliberation in the bills. 15 bills passed in 21 sittings with little or no debate in the monsoon session 2025. Now, one more data which is very important, right? For say the PRS report 2023 says, the PRS report 2023 says that in India in 2023 2023 budget session, it only saw 20 hours of debate. That means the budget was passed all because of only 12 hours of the debate, right? Compared to 123 hours in 1990. So ultimately, the process which must be improved has ultimately declined over the years, and this report is because of the PRS 2023, right? This shows that there has been a a sufficient decline in the productivity. Now, erosion of accountability mechanisms, for say the question hour has become ineffective. Why? Because only 8% of the question were answered orally in Lok Sabha and 5% in the Rajya Sabha in monsoon session 2025. No oral replies were given at all. That definitely undermines the legislative oversight of the executive. One more thing you need to understand, that it even talks about the reduced sitting days. The reduced sitting days in the parliament. For say PRS report 2023 says that parliament met over 70 days per year over a particular decade, where earlier it used to meet 120 to 150 days in 1990s. So again, the major work of the parliament, that you at least come and sit in the parliament so that you may talk, you may discuss regarding things, has been deteriorated or had been reduced to a significant level of 70 days per year only, right? It is even bad. Why? Because if I compare with the countries like UK, where the minimum seats are 160 to 170 days, especially with the US, where the UK Congress used to sit for nearby 250 to 260 days in a year. That shows that the parliamentary culture in India has been deteriorating for sure. This data shows this thing. Another point is rising criminalization. That means that the share of MPs facing criminal cases has been doubled, 14% to 1931% in 2024. Today's the Hindu, there was a news published that over more than 30% of the MPs and the MLAs all, they have the serious criminal charges facing against them. So the criminalization of politics is being taking place. That means they are not very much helpful with the voices or the other things, right? Plus institutional weaknesses were there. For say there is no deputy speaker post in the Lok Sabha since 2019. Why? Because there was a convention that the deputy speaker post will be given to the opposition members. So now the no deputy speaker post is there. Weakening of those past posts reduce the spirit of bipartisan functioning, the point that I just mentioned. One more thing as well, that institutional weakness में एक बहुत बड़ा point है, which is the party whip. The party whip. The party whip says that you have to go along the line of the party in the parliament. So now if any of the MP or the MLA, they have certain different view or their free view to put against or in favor of a bill or something, they may not do things. Why? Because the party whip has them, and if you go against the party whip, anti-defection law will be there against you. You will be barred from the party, right? So ultimately, those MP who want are unable to do this thing. So again, this is leading to this, the decline of the culture as well, right? Now the path to reform. But before the path to reform, there are certain impacts that you need to discuss. That हम ये कैसे कह सकते हैं कि इनका असर क्या हुआ है? So we can say that the farm laws in India was passed without proper scrutiny, and then what happened after after a year we saw in it. The CAG report says that PM Cares Fund was not scrutinized properly by the parliamentary committees, right? PRS report says that over 42% of the Indian people say that they think that their MPs is not putting their voices rightly in the parliament, right? And last, the judicial overreach as well. When the parliament productivity is declining, then we may say or we may think that the judicial overreach in India is taking place. We may witness this thing with the in case of Vishaka guidelines, right to privacy, surrogacy laws, etc. Right? So there has been so many impact against the declining parliamentary productivity in India. Now the point is, what could be the possible path that the issue will be better in India? The first and the foremost has to be that increase in number of sitting. It has to be minimum 120 to 140 days a year. और ये बात मैं नहीं बोल रहा हूं, it has been conveyed by the Law Commission report, right? One more thing as well, we may practice this thing, the British model. The British used to give two things, very important thing. Now you need to write down this thing specifically, right? British are used to do two things. The first thing is they have a particular year of calendar where they know that on this particular day the parliament will sit, and the other day you may go to your constituency and work. Against the country like India, where it is the prerogative of the government of India to let you know that we are going to start the parliament. First thing. Second very important thing, in British, what they used to do to avoid the disruptions and the walkers of the opposition parties, which is a very basic way to show their discontent against the government, they gave a special 20-day session to the opposition party in a year. That means that it will be the prerogative and the right of the opposition to run the parliament. They may introduce a bill and they will let the other parliamentaries and the MPs and the Prime Minister to know that there are certain issues and you need to focus on this as well. This creates a very healthy democratic infrastructure within the parliamentary system and will be more echoed in the parliamentary democracy system, right? So India need to practice this thing thoroughly. These three things, right? Number of sitting, year calendar, and a particular 20-day session which should be given to the opposition parties. Now, strengthening parliamentary procedure and rules. We need to amend the rules of the procedure to make referral to the bills to the committees mandatory. This is a very important thing, right? Second, prescribe penalties for unruly behavior of the MPs. भारत के अंदर ये बात लगातार बैठ के बोली गई थी कि that majority of the MPs were thrown out because of the unruly behavior, right? Ensure consensus-based election of deputy speaker from the opposition. This is again very important thing. Now, empowering parliamentary committees, the point we just mentioned. Third, enhancing parliamentary independence. How? We need to amend the anti-defection law so that the MPs will feel freedom to vote on issues of national interest and even in the no confidence motion. At least they may echo their voice in the parliament, right? Next, promoting public engagement. The live telecast of parliamentary session for the transparency. Introduce online forums, public hearings to allow citizen partnership and the scrutiny, right? We have generally found this thing that it has been practiced in the India earlier, but only in the incident of one and two bills, not in all the bills, where the bill should be given to the open access to the public, that they may give their voices and the suggestions so that we may incorporate in the bills as well. So it will create better people to people interaction and the more cohesion between the government and the people will take place, right? It will even give a way for the better citizen centric governance, right? Next, capacity building of MPs and opposition. Provide MPs with training and resources to analyze the complex policies, right? And the shadow cabinet, like in the Britain, we may practice things like this. Harnessing technology, the use of e-parliamentary system, other things associated. The role of expert and the legal communities. We need to make greater use of Attorney General's power under Article 88 to guide constitutionally sound legislations. And the better lawmaking practices. We need to introduce legislative impact assessment and create a dedicated legislator committee for the coordinated lawmaking bodies. One more thing as well, that we need to create one parliamentary budget office. The parliamentary budget office. Its work will be there to make sure that it will be modeled on the USA model, which will be helpful to get that how specializedly you are using your budget in what different manners, right? So this kind of models can be accepted in India, right? And then afterwards there is a practice question visible over your screen and you need to practice this thing thoroughly. I hope the topic that we discussed in today's daily news analysis was covered thoroughly and you understood specifically. Let us know the answers in the message box. Do write this answer, reach out to us. We will definitely help you out. Keep watching daily news analysis. Keep studying at home. Thank you very much.